So, good evening, one and all. It's great pleasure to welcome you all for today's section, Rainbows of Emotion. And today's topic is a wonderful topic, mindfulness. So, I guess everyone is excited and waiting for the section to start. Before we get into the section, I would like to introduce our wonderful speaker, Mrs. Kirtana Swaminathan. A small introduction about her. Kirtana Swaminathan is a sports and exercise psychologist and the founder of Think, Train and Perform. And she works with national and state level athletes for mental conditioning. She also works with school children and on behavior modification through physical activity and sports. Apart from that, Kirtana Swaminathan also work with many organizations in terms of performance psychology. She is also the author of the book, When I Look Back, it was 21 already, and she is a marathon runner and a cyclist. I'm very happy to welcome Kirtana Swaminathan for today's section.
Thanks, Kavita.
Thank you.
Okay, so today's session is not going to have any presentation or slides because we're going to be talking about mindfulness. So I decided not to have a presentation for this or not to have a slide for this particular session. So I'm going to be talking to you, and there's going to be a lot of activities that we're going to do today. Uh, I assure you it will be fun. Okay. So, mindfulness is a concept that all of us are aware of, but we don't really know what it is, right? That's something which I think in today's world, everyone are using, right? From schools to organizations. I see a lot of organizations and schools, beginning to use this thing called mindfulness, having an hour dedicated to mindfulness or having 10 minutes dedicated to mindfulness. But what is this mindfulness? Is it really important? Is it something that can make a change to your life? And how is it meant to be done? Right? Uh, Now let me put it in simple terms. Mindfulness is nothing but being aware of things that are happening around, right? It's basically getting out of the autopilot mode. Hmm? Most of us in today's world, we are extremely fast. We want to do everything. Let's say we are checking our phones and going to eat. We don't really pay attention to a lot of keen details, right? It could be for us, it could be about other people as well. So, paying that little bit of attention, having that awareness as to this is what is happening is called mindfulness, right? It's very simple, but it's very difficult to start practicing it, right? You might be able to, especially in today's very busy world, you might be able to practice it, let's say for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but changing that into a lifestyle can make a world of a difference to you. And I'll tell you why it will make such a huge difference to you, right? Now, mindfulness, just by paying attention, just by having that awareness, just by getting out of your autopilot mode, right? What is happening is that you become aware of A, yourself, B, things that are happening all around you. Could be in terms of people, could be in terms of what, small details, right? When you start paying attention, when you start being non-judgmental, non-biased, right? What happens to you is that uh, you end up being a lot more, less stressful. I think I should put it this way. You end up being very calm. You end up being less stressful, right? You end up being extremely efficient in whatever you're doing. So let's say even if you're, studying for half an hour or you're reading some content for half an hour, that's going to stick to you for a long time because you're actively reading, right? If you're talking to a person for 5 minutes, you're able to grasp what he or she is feeling. And I know as HRs, it's extremely important to understand or grasp what another person is feeling or trying to say, right? So this happens when you're mindful. your stress levels decrease, you end up having a lot more empathy, you are able to focus a lot better, you're able to do a lot more things because you end up being a lot more productive, right? But in today's world, what happens to all of us is that we end up wanting to multitask, right? I remember one of those days when, I had a lot of work to do. I ended up multitasking, right? I ended up, probably looking at my phone and eating, or looking at my phone and doing some work, or probably, writing something just by looking at my phone and scrolling through things, right? And that's when I realized that's not mindfulness, because what I'm doing there is I'm trying to multitask. And I know a lot of us face this issue, right? When some work is going on, even when it's not urgent, we end up taking calls. When we are talking to our friends, when we are talking to our relatives, or let's say our family members, I know a lot of people who pick calls if even if it's not urgent, right? So those small things are things that will that are literally creating hindrances for you to being mindful, right? And today I'm going to be giving you small tips and tactics as to how you can get more mindful, how you can be more aware, right? Mindful means applying your mind fully to do something, right? And applying your mind fully doesn't mean multitasking. Applying your mind fully means focusing. And what focusing does to you, or what being aware does to you, uh, it's the biggest change that you can get in your life, right? Now, let me tell you something. Mindfulness is not only in terms of emotions, it's not only in terms of your behavior. It can be physical, your physical mindfulness. It could be cognitive mindfulness, which is cognitive is nothing but in your thought processes, right? So being aware of your thought processes. Um, Mindfulness can also be in terms of your behavior, what you do, right? And mindfulness can also be in terms of your emotions, right? Now, today I'm going to be talking briefly on these four types so that you are aware as to what to do and what not to do, right? So, mindfulness in terms of physicality, right? Why is it so important to be mindful about how your body is feeling, how, how you're sitting, how you're standing, right? I know a lot of people, the moment they've started working from home, right, they have a lot of issues such as back pain, shoulder pain, uh, headache, all sorts of things, right? A simple thing of being aware of one's posture, hmm, being aware of the spacing and the not even spacing, the height adjustment of your laptop, being aware that you're engrossed in the uh, laptop for a long time, that itself can make such a huge difference, because then you can actually get up and go for a walk and come back or something like that, right? So the whole thing here is when you start being aware as to, when you're doing a particular activity, this is how your body is going to react. When you're going to feel sick, let's say you're going to get a fever next time, uh, these are the symptoms, and you actually note down the symptoms, you're aware of your symptoms, you acknowledge these things. What happens to you is you end up understanding that you might be getting sick, and there are certain precautions you got to take the next time it actually happens, right? So it's very important for you to be aware of your space, be aware of your body, what it is feeling. And I do have an activity for you, it's called body scanning. So if all of you can, sit in a comfortable place, sit in a comfortable position, I'm just going to be guiding you through a small body scan exercise, right? It's just going to take 2 minutes. You can do this anywhere, and trust me, this helps a lot, especially when you're in the middle of work. Throughout the day, let's say you're sitting and you're staring at the computer and you don't know what's happening, but you have a headache, right? A simple body scan exercise can actually change things over. So, how, let me just explain how this works, and then I'll be guiding you through the body scan exercise entirely. How this works is that I'm going to be asking you to close your eyes. You will be sitting in a comfortable position. Um, just close your eyes however you're sitting, right? And what you're going to be doing is, as I um, point out to each body part, right from your head to your toe, right? You're just going to be trying to relax that part of your body, right? Most of us, unknowingly, we do have, let's say, tension or a certain rigidity in our head, in our face, in our shoulders. Sometimes we end up shrugging our shoulders and sitting, right? So all those could cause you a certain pain. All those could also cause you a certain emotion, right? So what I'm going to be asking you to do is, the moment I say focus or relax your forehead, you're just going to be relaxing it. Then you would find probably your headache is getting released a little bit, right? Let's say your eyes, since you've been looking at the laptop for a long time, maybe you're closing your eyes so hard. Then when I say relax your eyes, you're just going to be relaxing it, right? Similarly, for every part of your body, right from your head to your toe. That's how this is going to work. And when I say slowly and gently open your eyes, is when you're going to open your eyes. Done? So we're just going to start this. If there's any doubt, please post it on the chat box. But I don't think there should be an issue right now. So I'll just start it off. Just gently close your eyes. Sit wherever you are. Close your eyes. Make sure you have your spine straight. Have your spine straight. Relax your forehead. Relax your eyes. Relax your nose, your jaws, your cheeks, your mouth, your chin. Relax your head completely. With every breath you take, you're feeling more and more relaxed. Just release all the tension from the back of your neck. This is where most of us hold tension. There's a lot of strain there. Just try releasing it. Be aware of the pain that is there, if at all it is. Relax your shoulder completely. Release all the tension from your shoulders. Relax your arms completely. Your elbows, your forehand, your palms, your fingers, every part of your hand. Just completely relax. Just be aware of every part of your body as and when I'm calling it out. Relax your chest and your abdomen. Relax your back completely, your spine area. Extremely important to relax this part, which means you have to have it straight. Just completely relax. Don't hold any tension there. Relax your hip muscles. Relax your legs completely. Your thigh muscles, your knees, your calf muscles, your feet. Throughout the day, your feet is carrying you through, right? So relax your feet completely. Don't hold any tension there. Relax your toes completely. With every single breath, Just completely scan through your body for any tension and just release it. And slowly, slowly open your eyes. Slowly, slowly open your eyes. Now, this exercise might have made you aware of a certain pain that you might be having, or it might have made you aware of a certain tension that you're holding, right? I would suggest you to do this particular exercise at least twice or thrice a day. Um, Frankly speaking, it'll be good if you're doing this when you're, let's say, emoting a certain way. Let's say you're angry or frustrated. Please do this, because when we are angry or frustrated, or when we are sad, we tend to change our facial expressions, and we also tend to change our body posture and everything. When you align yourself back to your normal body position or your neutral body position, what happens to you is that there's a reduction in that particular emotion, which means you become a lot calmer, right? So it's very important. So let's say, I think I'll talk about the emotional aspect of the body scan exercise when I talk about the emotion. But I would suggest all of you to do this at least twice or thrice a day. If you're working, when you're working, what you can do is that you can do this, let's say, once before lunch break, or maybe at around 11:30, 12, I mean 10:30, 11, when you have a tea break or something like that, and again in the evening, right? It's very important for you to realign, right? Because I know most of us get carried away with work and we end up losing our physical posture. So it's very, very important for you to do this, right? So this is about body scan. You can do this while standing as well. And while standing, if you were to do it, you might have to keep your feet together like this and keep your hands to the side, so that that becomes your neutral position. Uh, but otherwise, rest are all the same, just that your spine needs to be erect. Uh, what I suggest is that you just have to close your eyes and just constantly relax from the top, from your head to your toe, right? This is a brilliant exercise, and this could help you a lot in terms of your emotional mindfulness as well, right? Um, okay, so I just spoke about physical mindfulness. Now I'm going to be talking about your cognitive mindfulness, or being aware of your thoughts. Again, this is going to be connected a lot to your behavior and to your emotions, because your thoughts does influence the way you feel. So it's very important that you realize that all three are connected, right? Actually, all four are connected, but I think at the end I'll explain to you how all four are connected. So cognitive mindfulness, or being aware of your own thoughts, right? See, it's very it's most of us go through negative emotions or negative thoughts very often. It's normal to go through negative thoughts, right? Especially in such a situation, it's very normal that we go through negative thoughts, such as, what if I get this, what if I get that, the distortions that I taught you, few classes ago. So it's all very normal to go through these things, but you got to be aware that you're going through such thoughts, right? So let's say you're talking to someone, and while talking to them, you're stuck with this cognitive. Let's say you're talking to another girl, or let's say you see another girl drive, and you have another girl here in your car, right? So you see another girl drive, or you see another lady drive, and I know there's a common bias that all women are bad drivers, right? So you end up saying it, oh, it's a woman, that's why she's driving badly, right? And what happens is that maybe the lady sitting next to you is probably going to feel bad about it, right? Instead, if you can stop there, think about the cognitive bias that you actually have at that point, right? The bias there you have at that point. So you see that driver there, you see a person driving the car there, and immediately to your mind it says, okay, all women are bad drivers, right? So the moment you see that, the moment you understand that that's what you're thinking, pause, see what is it that you're thinking, right? And after thinking that, just give it some time, say, okay, this is what I'm thinking, let me acknowledge this. Don't say it immediately, right? The moment you're aware of your thought, don't say it immediately, because only then you can change your behaviors as well. So one easy way to be aware of your thoughts is that you can journal. Journaling is nothing but making notes, right? So let's say at any point of the day, if you have 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, what you can do is that you can just write down what are the thoughts which are going on in your mind, right? One really fun activity that I end up doing is use a trigger word to see what are the thoughts which are coming to me. Let's say I'm reading a book, and I'm reading a book. The book I'm reading currently is Becoming by Michelle Obama. So when I read that book, if I have any trigger, let's say there's something that she's written about her childhood, and I end up thinking about what happened to me in my childhood, I just pause there, take my book, and start writing down those points. And the trigger there is the few lines that probably Michelle Obama has written there in her book, right? So this makes you aware of the thoughts you get and the triggers, or what started those thoughts in the first place. If most of you watch TV, what you can do, a few ads could stimulate a few thoughts in you, right? Let's say a chocolate ad, right? Maybe with that ad, you end up thinking about something that happened in your childhood, or how your kid wants a chocolate, or something like that, right? Things that happen, things that you see, things, when people give you information, right? How does your brain process it? I think 2 3 days ago, one of my clients, he had spoken about something which really disturbed him, right? That triggered a lot of thoughts in me, right? So I immediately wrote it down. So it's very important to write down what are those thoughts, right? Just pause and give it some time and write it down immediately. That's very, very important. The moment you start being aware of these thoughts, your negative thoughts may not disappear overnight, but definitely will minimize, right? The more you're aware of it, the more it is going to minimize. And the lesser your negative thoughts become, there's a high chance that it might disappear a day, right? And it's probably going to come up with probably a stimulus. That's it. Maybe a trigger is required for it to come, but it's not going to be an automatic negative thought, right? So be aware of your cognitive or your thought processes. Be aware of the biases that you have in your mind. Just constantly, anytime you want to say something, just pause there and then say it. I know this comes under behavior as well. Usually we only say our thoughts, we usually talk out what we have in our mind, right? So it's very important for you to pause there and then talk. Okay, thoughts and behavior is going to be connected. That's the reason I'm connecting both over here. The next comes emotional awareness or emotional mindfulness, right? Extremely important thing. Extremely important. Now, emotions are going to be connected to your behavior as well. There's no emotion which is good or bad. Everything is everything has its own benefits. Everything has its own pros and cons. That's what I would say always. Anger is not wrong. Sometimes anger triggers the best things out of you. Fear is again not wrong. Sometimes you end up preparing a lot better when you are scared, right? It all depends on how you take it, and how you take it, or your perception totally depends on your mindfulness, how mindful you are to your emotion and to your behavior, right? So your mindfulness in terms of emotion, right? You got to be understanding what emotion makes you get into a particular body language, because body language can deepen a particular emotion. And when your emotion becomes very deep, especially a negative emotion, you're going to be attracting it a lot more, which means that you're going to be emoting it a lot more, right? So how are you going to be aware of your emotion and your body language? Simply put, the body scan exercise. That's going to help you a lot. Like I said earlier, when you know something is getting you angry, right? Close your eyes. Close your eyes. In fact, if you want to take time, please go out of that place when you have that person. Or if the person is right next to you, quickly, it's going to take barely 2 minutes. It's better than actually facing the consequences of a heated argument, right? Quickly just close your eyes and get through your body scan exercise, because the moment you get into a neutral um, body posture, things are going to change a lot. You're going to, trust me, you're going to get a lot calmer. So let's say when you're angry, okay? For me, when I'm angry, my heart rate increases. I start sweating profusely. And what happens to me is that my eyebrows start getting, raised. There's a lot of tension on my face, right? But the moment I do my body scan exercise and get back to normalcy, my thinking changes entirely. The anger is still there, but I'm a lot calmer. And this helps a lot in organizations, because when you're giving a feedback in the right way, in a manner that they will understand. Imagine if you are actually communicating, you're having a heated argument with someone when you're angry with them, and you've not put across the point there, and probably they've just lost the respect for you. Imagine that. Then the anger is of no use over there, right? You rather put your anger to use. So what you could do is, let's say you're giving a feedback to someone, you pause there, change your body language, change your body stance, and then talk it out. You can express your anger in a very different way. You can express your fear in a very different way. And you know what? It might work out that you expressed it and the person ends up changing, taking the feedback, right? So that's very important. You don't need to shout, you don't need to scream or yell at every person. Every person has a different way we give them feedback, and it's very important for us to know that as a HR we need to be mindful about what we do as a HR, right? So that's the whole thing. So at the end of the day, we want people to take feedback, right? And we need to be calm about certain things that we are delivering. We need to be calm about our emotions, the way we are talking, things like that. So this is very, very important. It's important for us to switch back completely, and then give a feedback. So what happens there is that, when you're angry, these are the changes that you go through in your body. It's going to be constant, more or less. Okay. When you're scared, these are the changes you're going to go through in a body, right? And it's so easy for us to get out of a certain emotion. That's where you become extremely resilient in terms of an emotion, right? Just that one awareness can alter a lot of things, from what the other person thinks about you, to what you feel about yourself, to how soon you can get back from your emotion. To the extent that if you want to become happy, there's another way you can become happy, is that change your body posture, think about what makes you happy, things like that, right? So this is just being mindful, this is just being aware of things, right? So this is about emotional mindfulness, and then comes your behavior. Like I said, both are interconnected. um, it's very important for us to be mindful very behaviorally, right? Behavior is nothing but what we do, our action, correct? So in fact, what you can do is, I'm not sure if you've heard of the word visualization, right? We usually use visualization to think about our dreams, think about our passion, our vision, all those things. But I'm going to tell you that there's another way to use visualization, right? Let's say you were going to deal with a situation today. Let's say you had to give a feedback to one of the employees over, your office, or you had to talk to your child about something, right? And probably it didn't go the right way. It probably didn't go the right way. Once the situation is over, right? Just close your eyes, think about it, and see how else. Just reenact the entire situation in your mind, replay the entire thing, what you did, what he did, he or she did, right? Just replay the entire thing in your mind and see how you could have changed your behavior, right? Because I know the first step to changing your behavior, it's very tough. It's very tough for you to, do it automatically right there. To break your autopilot mode and to, like, your autopilot mode is nothing but reacting or responding to a particular situation a certain way that you've done all these times, right? So what you can do is you can, after the situation is over, get back, rewind, close your eyes, think about it. Just it should very clearly come. You should be able to see yourself and play the entire situation, see what are the behaviors or what are the actions that you did which could have not been beneficial to the person you told the feedback to, right? And once that is done, you can give yourself many options as to how else you can alter your behavior, right? This is a good thing because what happens is neurologically speaking, a lot of changes that happen in your brain when you close your eyes and visualize. What happens is that your brain feels it's really happening, right? All your centers, which is your center for seeing, your brain center for hearing, everything lights up when you visualize, right? So what happens to your brain is that it's going to feel that this is the new normal. It's going to feel that next time this situation happens, I have to react this way. So that's why it's so important for you to rehearse, to do a certain thing. You'll have to visualize this. So that part can help you in terms of your behavior, wherein you go back to the situation, you're going to close your eyes, and you're going to be seeing the entire thing, making those changes. The next time the same situation happens, you might be, let's say, 30% better than what it was earlier. And slowly it might become 50, it might become 60, it might become 70, and slowly you might come out of that behavior in itself, right? So that's very important. Again, this is not something which is overnight. It's not an overnight change you can expect. It will take time, right? But it'll be a very, very fruitful and effective one for me to say, right? Now, let me give you a few small, tips and tactics before, we actually, wind up. I'm going to give you a few things that you can do in your everyday life, probably, even through work, you can do it. The first thing is when you eat, when you walk, right? Do it mindfully, do it with your full awareness. When you eat, feel the texture of the food, taste it, see how it is, how it feels, right? Look at the color of the food. That's going to make a huge impact on your awareness, right? uh, Look at the way you respond to the aesthetics of the food. That's very important, whether it's cooked at home or whether you buy it from out. It's important for you to do that, right? And completely slow down your eating process. That's very, very important. Try to have enough time in between eating and doing other work, at least for one meal a day, right? Let's say if you don't have much time for your breakfast, then at least during your lunch, slow it down. Have some time, right? And slow it down and try to slowly, mindfully, with full awareness of how the food feels, how it tastes, how it looks, right? Do that and then eat. It makes a huge difference to how much you eat and how you enjoy your eating, right? That's the first thing I would say. Second thing is when you take a walk, when you're walking, or let's say any of you are engaged in some physical activity like working out or going out and running or whatever it is, engage in it completely. So immerse yourself completely. Look at, just feel from again, just see how your body is responding to everything. You can also see there are two things you can be aware of when you're walking or running or doing whatever it is, right? Or let's say you're spending time for yourself. There are few things that you can be aware of. One thing is within your body how you feel. Two is in your surroundings, what are you feeling? Let's say you're going out for a run. Try to feel the breeze or try to feel the humidity. I know in Chennai it's very humid. So you can feel the humidity there. Try enjoying it. Look at the surroundings, the smell, right? So be aware of such things, and also be aware of the things internally. You can do that. Let's say 10 minutes of your running, you can be focusing on something outside. Again, 10 minutes of your run, you can probably focus on something which is inside, which is, let's say, how your hands feel when you move, how your heart rate is increasing, things like that, right? This can be done even when you're working, right? Like I said, the body scan exercise is very important. So try doing that. So the first two things is mindful eating. Second thing is mindful walking or any activity that you do, which is your time, right? Third thing is in your desk, right? I know most of us are working from home, or even if you're working from your office, you have a desk, you have a space, right? So what I want you to do is first clear the space, right? And the moment you sit in your desk, let's say you're sitting in your desk for, let's say, 4 5 hours altogether, right? If you're engaging in a conversation or if you're doing some work, I know it's a different thing altogether. But in between, let's say once in 1 hour, or let's say once in 2 hours, quickly catch yourself and see what it is that you're thinking. Okay, what it is that you're thinking when you're sitting in your desk, right? So in between your work, just quickly catch yourself, probably once in 2 hours or once in 3 hours, and just see what is it that you're thinking. Notice what is it that you're thinking on your desk. When you're sitting on your desk, what is it that you're thinking? And also, what is it that you're actually doing in your desk? Because most of us end up not being productive when we are working. The biggest complaint I'm getting, especially in the recent times, is that although they have all the time in the world to work, um, they are not being productive, right? So the productivity has decreased because there's a lot of time and we are in our own comfort spaces, right? So what you can do is that quickly catch yourself and see what exactly you're doing when you're in your desk, right? Thinking and doing is very important. You need to be looking at both, right? um, fourth one, right? Stop multitasking. Anytime you catch yourself multitasking, stop it altogether. Now, this multitasking can be you listening to someone and doing some work. Let's say you are doing some work and probably chatting with someone, right? Or maybe you're trying to write. You know what? Even in terms of work, you can multitask. Let's say there are 2 3 important work, and let's say you have 2 3 tabs open, and all the tabs are related to some other different work. Okay, it's important for you to notice that and stop doing it, because that makes you very unproductive. Do one work at a time and allot certain time slots for that work. It's very important. That allotting of time slots is extremely important, and that changes your emotional tone also completely. Imagine you have different tabs open in your laptop, and what happens is you keep jumping from this to that. Your focus changes, you are not productive, you become very stressful because none of the work is getting done, everything is getting delayed, right? So it's very important for us to not keep jumping from one work to another. It need not be that you're getting distracted with let's say your phone or something. Maybe your phone is somewhere far away and you're just working. But even in terms of work, be very conscious that you don't mix two works together, right? You shouldn't be doing that. If you do that, please try stopping it. And how you can stop it is by allotting certain time slots. Have certain particular time period. Prioritize which work is more important. You can club things that are probably common in nature or similar in nature, but you can't be doing two work together at the same time, right? So I think it's very important for us to watch. Everyone, including me, makes the same mistake. Even I have a lot of tabs open at some point, and then I realize, I shouldn't be doing that. So within a few minutes, I end up realizing and I say, okay, cut all these tabs. Let me write down what is to be done. Let me jot down timelines and then start doing it. In fact, I become even more productive when I do that, right? So that's the fourth and another very, very important thing. What else you can do is that in between, when you take breaks, right? be aware. Yeah, of course, you can look at your phone, you can listen to music, it's fine. What you can do is do something that can give you more focus. It's called mindfulness activity. What you can do is you can either close your eyes, do your body scan exercise, or you can close your eyes and listen to some music that you like. It can be the same song all the time. I do that all the time. So I just have a song which is repeated. So every time I have a break, I end up listening to the same song. That gives me a lot of focus, right? That makes me a lot mindful, right? Or you can close your eyes, watch your breath. Yes, that is also doable. Any of it is a mindfulness activity, and you can do that. It's very helpful. There's another very important thing that you might want to include in mindfulness, which is mindful listening. What you can do is when you listen to when someone is, it's also called active listening, and as HRs, we all got to have it, right? So when someone is talking to you, listen to them actively, right? As they're talking and as you're listening, if you're going to be thinking about something else, or if you're going to be somewhere else, if you're going to be preoccupied, that's not going to work, right? So mindfully listen, see their body language changes, right? And understand what they're trying to say, actively listen to them, engage in that conversation. That's another very important thing. There's a game that you can play with yourself, which is called the observation game. What you can do is that, at any particular point, take a sheet of paper. If you're bored, you can do this. uh, Take a sheet of paper and a pen. Close your eyes, open it, just look at the entire place as if you've never looked at it before, right? Even if it's your house, close it, close your eyes again, and then try writing down what is where, or what all you found, right? It could be, let's say, a pot, it could be a sofa, it could be a charger. You might come up with very new things that you've never seen, right? Try doing that. The observation game is a lot of fun. Try observing new things and write it down. Even that is fine. Even if you don't want to close your eyes and open it, just try scanning for things that you've never seen, right? So you can just write down what all you feel is there in your room, and then try looking at other things which are there in your room, right? That's another very important thing. So these things can really help you out in terms of you becoming extremely aware and attentive in terms of doing things, right? Your mindfulness, gaining momentum in terms of being mindful is not something that you can do overnight. You have to do it with a lot of practice. It comes only with a lot of practice. So please, you'll have to practice that every single day, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes of engaging in your mindfulness activity. It's fine, right? Sorry, I think that was a network. So that's what it was about. So any questions, any of you have any doubt, I would like to answer them.
Thank you so much, Kirtana.
Thank you.
Kavita,
Kitna, this is Manju
Yes,
here.
yes.
I have a question for you.
Yeah, please tell me.
Yeah. Okay. So you were telling about this body scanning, especially when we go through any negative
one
emotion.
minute, somebody.
I can't hear you clearly.
Manju Bhashini, you need to check your background noise. Probably will ask Dr. Lopamurda Mishra. You can unmute yourself and then you can ask your question.
Madam, is the mindfulness same as emotional intelligence?
Okay. So mindfulness, if you can just mute yourself back, I think there's an echo. That's the reason I'm just asking you to mute yourself back. So emotional intelligence is something that comes along with mindfulness. So the more mindful you become, the more aware you become more emotionally intelligent. It's interlinked. It's not the same concept, but yes, if in terms of if you start being more aware, if there's an increase in mindfulness, there is an increase in emotional intelligence as well. But both are not the same thing.
Okay, madam. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Nivya.
Hi.
So you had told in the first point, like, in the tips, basically, you had told that you're not supposed to do multitasking.
Yeah.
But do you really think with the current scenario and all of us working from home, even I'm talking on behalf of my employees and all the
Yes.
HRs also, is
Yes.
it really possible to not do multitasking in this current scenario, especially?
Okay. Your question is definitely valid. Okay. And it's not wrong to engage in multitasking sometimes, but if the percentage becomes a lot, then we get into a problem, right? I would say be aware even of your multitasking. So there are times when, let's say, if I know if some of you are having children, if you end up having to cook at home, you have to multitask. I understand that, right? But be aware of such things as well. Be aware that when you're working, you're fully there. When you're shifting to cooking, you're fully there, right? And it's just about that momentary shift. It doesn't mean that 5 minutes you have to do this means 5 minutes you have to do this. No, it means that when you're doing this, don't think about that. When you're going and cooking, don't think about what work you have to do. Then you might end up forgetting to put salt in your food, right? Literally, you just have to be in that moment. That doesn't mean uh, not multitasking. So multitasking means doing two things at the same time. Maybe I'm taking this session and I'm thinking about something else. That's multitasking, right? If you can
Okay.
switch quickly, then it'll be great. And again, that comes only with practice. It will come with practice. I know a lot of us, especially if you are doing two, three things or multiple jobs, then we are able to multitask pretty quickly. It's just that you need to write, in a sheet of paper, just write down the things you've got to do, let's say in the next couple of hours or things like that, and try ticking them off. Then you might become extremely aware of these things, even when you multitask.
Thanks, ma'am. Thanks a
Thank you.
lot.
It can
Yeah,
be said that multitasking with mindfulness. So that's
exactly.
Okay, ma'am. Thanks. And really thanks for the tips because this is very useful for us. And one more question, ma'am. The
Yes.
exercise which you had given, you had told us to do in the beginning, right? With
Body
regarding to
scan.
mind,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Can this because can we tell this to our employees also to follow, or you would require
Of
only a
course.
psychologist to do
Oh
it or
no,
something
not
like?
at all, not at all, not at all. See, this is as simple as what is very important is that every person needs to be independent. Otherwise, there's no use of having these tools. Imagine you'll have to come to a psychologist every time you need to do a body scan. No chance. That's not going to work, right? And it's only a 2 minute job. You just have to guide these. Even if it's employees, they can do it by themselves. No problem at all. It's just that they need to be taught the right way of doing it. Like I said, it's just about releasing. For now, just have it as releasing the tension there. Just relax
Okay.
completely. As and when you practice, you will understand what I'm talking about, and definitely you will get the hang of it. So even when you're explaining to your employees, right, just guide them through the entire exercise the way I guided you. I didn't say anything else, but relax. I was just calling out body parts from your top, head to your toe, and I kept saying relax. There was nothing major in it, so don't worry about it. You can explain this to your employees. It's just that by asking them to relax, there's going to be a shift in their body posture, which is going to be extremely beneficial to them.
Thanks, ma'am.
Thank you. Yeah. Any other doubt? I think someone else initially had a doubt, right?
Kirtana, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, not as a question as such, but would you like to share about an experience about mindfulness along with a sports person, a story or incident which has changed their attitude or changes, which we can take it
Sure,
for?
sure. So I have two, three examples, but I'll tell you one example. I think this is something which is very simple. Okay. I'll narrate you two examples, because two are beautiful examples which I would like to narrate. One is, there was a table tennis player I had, who used to serve a particular, they have multiple service, the serves that they do to start a game, right? And what happened was, she used to serve very beautifully, but because of everyone talking about, I think once she failed and everyone started mocking her, right? Ever since then, she stopped doing it. That move of hers, that particular serve of hers was the best thing that she would ever do, right? In terms of technique, she was really good at it. She was the best in it, right? But when people started mocking her, she used to start shivering when she used to serve that. So as her hands started going on top, she would shiver, even if it's just a shadow practice. So even if when she used to come to my place and I asked her to do things like that, her hands would shiver, right? Then I slowly started to get her into mindfulness techniques. Simply put, just body scan exercises, nothing major in it. But this body scan would be something that she did when she was doing the service practice without the ball, right? And that, over, I think, the 2 months of lockdown, completely changed. She started getting the serve again, right? And she was also mindful of what are the thoughts she got. There are two things she was aware of. One is her body, how it felt, why it started shivering. That's the first thing. Second thing is the thoughts she got in her mind as she started serving, because her thoughts went back to, what other people would say. So as she started getting mindful about it, she started focusing a lot more on her serve, right? So this is a beautiful example, and it worked very well. So I think this is one of the things I would like to share. It really worked, and I know she is completely out of that fear now. Second thing is, this is between a father and a daughter, and I remember I think there was a misunderstanding over there, right? This example is more about active listening and actively engaging in a conversation with someone else. I thought, this is a beautiful example to share. So there was a huge communication gap between the father and the daughter. And what happened was, the daughter started communicating to me during one of the sessions, and then I started understanding what it was. Luckily, the father was very receptive to what I had to say, the kind of feedback I had to give him. And the moment he started being mindful about how he spoke to his daughter and how he understood his daughter, the entire chemistry between them changed completely. That literally is the most satisfying thing for me. Imagine there's a child, daughter and a father bonding so well. uh, that gave me goosebumps. It's just a simple thing of being mindful, right? Be it relationships or be it even self, that awareness can do a lot. It's magical.
Yeah, so true. I mean, like it can happen in any relationships,
Exactly.
right? So
Exactly.
yeah, thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Shivamani. And then we have Ramesh Zaraja. You can unmute yourself and ask Ramesh.
Uh, thank you, madam. Thanks a lot for the wonderful lecture. I really delighted and really learned a lot from it. Lot
Thank you.
from it.
Thank you.
You mentioned one thing about having small breaks in
Yeah.
between.
Yeah.
So can you elaborate a little more on what should be the frequency, what should be the duration, and what needs to be done during these breaks?
Okay, your choice entirely. Okay, it totally depends on your attention span, and it need not be the same all the time. Sometimes a few tasks will allow you to have intense focus only for 15 minutes. A few tasks you might engage in that task for, let's say, even 2 hours, and you will forget it, right? So it's very important that, one second, if you can just unmute or mute, because I'm able to hear them. Yeah, perfect. I think now it should be fine. So it's just about understanding yourself, gauging yourself there. Take breaks whenever you feel like your mind is wandering. It can be a small 5-minute break. It can be a bigger half-an-hour break. It can even be a small nap, because I do engage in taking naps in between as well. Even if it's just 10 minutes, just to clear my mind off, I end up taking a nap. And that's not wrong at all. How frequent it should be, your choice. How long it should be, again, your choice. What you have to do is something, again, is of your choice, but there are a few conditions. Don't keep scrolling through your phone because that's not going to work. If you have to respond to a few chat messages, just do that, no problem, and quickly engage in something which makes you feel more focused. For example, like I told you, I start listening to music that gives me intense focus, that really makes me feel very focused. So even before I get into a session, one thing I do is listen to music. That really changes my the way I start thinking and everything, right? You can also, like I said, sometimes I end up taking a nap, sometimes I end up engaging in a conversation with someone that I want to, right? It totally depends on you, frequency, how long, what you do. Whatever you do needs to be making you more mindful and attentive, not something that you're going to scroll through your phone and look at unnecessary information. So that's it.
Thanks a lot, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I think someone initially had a question, and then because of disturbance, we couldn't.
Yeah, it's Manju Bhashani.
Yeah, Manju, if you can just tell me what it is, or probably just type it out.
Kurusuri ఇది పెడతారండి.
I have something to clarify. Can I ask?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, please.
Okay. So when you were telling about body scanning, so I was at home. So
Yeah.
I just I was lying down on my bed and tried to do it. Halfway I was sitting and doing it. But when I lie down on my bed and do it, I felt that I'm feeling more relaxed and I could able to focus on
You can do it lying down
body
also.
part.
You can do it lying down.
Right?
See, the whole thing is, there are times when you're sitting down there, this is something you have to be doing every time. So let's say you have a person sitting right in front of you and you got angry. Will you be able to lie down immediately and do it? Not really, right? But if you are alone and if you want to lie down and do it, of course you can. If you want to stand up and do it, yes, you can. You want to sit and do it, yes, you can. The only thing is that when you're lying down or when you're sitting down or even when you're standing, just make sure your body is straight. So even when you're lying down, lie down flat like this. Okay, that's the most important part. Otherwise, everything is fine. It's fine to lie down and do it. You can do it anyway, anytime, and anywhere. That's not a problem at all. The only condition is that you will have to sit straight, stand straight, or lie down flat. That's the only thing.
Okay. I had one more question.
Yeah, please.
You were telling about multitasking. We always encourage our employees to do multitasking, right?
Okay.
We tell them to, even when you're driving a car, it is a multitasking.
Yeah,
so
correct.
I want to hear from you to differentiate between getting distracted and doing multitasking and being focused to things.
So, like you said, I think multitasking and losing focus or getting distracted they are words which are interchanged and used. You can multitask. Multitasking, I think a lot of us use multitasking like, wearing different hats or playing different roles as multitasking. Yeah, it can be multitasking, but it's just that you're wearing different hats. And like I said, you're being in that moment when you're doing it, right? Let's say when I'm driving, those are the best times I actually am able to think. I come up with brilliant ideas when I am driving, right? Does that mean I'm multitasking? Maybe. But what I'm doing there is only driving, right? But what happens is because I'm in that intense focus state, all my good ideas end up coming at that point, right? So I think multitasking and getting distracted are used in the same way, and that's the biggest problem. Multitasking is fine as long as you're mindful about what you're doing at that particular moment. That's the whole thing, right? I keep saying don't multitask because people feel multitasking is getting distracted. Well, it's not. If multitasking means, when I'm sitting here and doing things, but I'm not thinking about what's going to happen next minute, or I'm not thinking about what's going to happen, let's say in my kitchen, or let's say, in someone else's life. That's the whole thing. That's about it. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you so much, Kirtana. So, the reason why I asked you is this topic I really liked it,
Yeah,
and I would also pass it on to my team. So I
sure,
want to be very crisp and clear about it when I pass it to my team. Thank
sure,
you so
sure,
much.
sure, sure. Thank you.
Kavita, I think we can go ahead probably. If any one
Okay.
question, last question.
Anyone?
Hello,
I have to.
Kirti ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah,
Hello, Kirti ma'am. Can you hear me? This is Pooja this side.
yeah. Please tell me, Pooja.
Yeah, Kirti ma'am, hi. I just wanted to know, like, if you are performing very well at work, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, due to COVID-19 scenario or anything, if any task becomes slowed down by you and your boss puts you down at that moment, so how to react in those situations, or what is probably the thing we can deal with situations like this?
Right. So there are 2, 3 things here. You might want to check what has slowed down the task. Is it something which is within your control or something which is out of your control? Even during this COVID situation, there are a couple of things which are still in our control, honestly speaking. Literally, this COVID-19 situation has given rise to a lot of new things that we can do, which is in our control, right? So you might want to check whether there are things which are in your control which has slowed down your process, or whether there are things which are completely out of your control that has slowed down the process. That's the first thing you might want to do. I know that's not anything to do with being mindful. It's just that you need to get into details and work on that. That's the first thing you want to do. The second thing you might want to do is try having a clear communication with your boss. Okay, you might want to sit down and see what you want to communicate to your boss, and you might want to you can start communicating anything to your manager or your boss only when you know what the details are. That's why I said you might want to check what is in your control, what is not in your control, right? And the moment you know what it is, just write down a few points as to what are you going to communicate, what do you want to communicate with him. Is it that you've done a mistake, you want to apologize, or you've not done a mistake but you want to tell him that because of COVID-19 this has happened? Just write down what you want to communicate. Okay, because what happens is that when we are emotional, we end up communicating the exact opposite to a person. We end up behaving in a very different way, right? So you don't want that to happen, especially with your boss. Just write down a few pointers as to what it is, and just visualize. I spoke to you about visualizing, right? Visualize how you would normally behave with your boss. What is it that you're going to talk? Okay, see what are the changes you can make, what are the consequences, how is he going to respond, right? And then if there are any changes you got to make in that, make the changes and then communicate to your boss, right? Because I know it's a very tricky situation, but it's very important for us to go into details and make sure you focus on it, get it done as soon as possible, because even the delay can come across to your boss as maybe not being interested, right? So make sure you are aware of such things, get that done a little sooner so that there's no misunderstanding there. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so I guess mostly all the questions are answered. Is there any other who have some questions or doubts in today's section? Okay.
I don't think so, Kavita. You can go ahead.
Okay, considering it as no, let me proceed it for a vote of thanks. I thank everyone who have joined for today's section, and today's section of mindfulness, that is one of the section in our Rainbows of Emotion, is quite useful for everyone. This section has been like a very practical section with lots of real-time practice, and hope you gain good knowledge and insight about the topic mindfulness. Thank you everyone for joining, and I thank our speaker Kirtana Swaminathan also for the wonderful section. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kirtana.
Thank you.
Thank you.